So Gary Neville continues to ruin his reputation as a respected pundit. You know, Gary Neville is no longer the voice of reason for football and on social issues. He's become way too big for his boots. He's let fame as the biggest football pundit in the UK and the money get to his head, and he's ventured far too much into politics, and in this World Cup final was an absolute embarrassing appearance. He's doing punditry in the final, and then he compares the Qatar's record on human rights and migrant workers and deaths of the migrant workers, and the migrant workers working 12 hours a day on the lowest of wages. Gary Neville compared that to the UK's government's issue with rail workers and nurses striking.
That we've got a current government in our country who are demonising rail workers, ambulance workers and terrifyingly nurses. People in accommodation, which is unsavoury and disgusting. We can't have that. That shouldn't happen here with the wealth that exists, but it shouldn't happen in our country that our nurses...
Now, Gary uses that attempt to criticise the Conservative government, basically equating the Conservative government to the dictatorship of Qatar. And Gary, you've completely embarrassed yourself. He's already got criticism for accepting the Qatar to be an ambassador and work for BN Sports. And he said his reason for it was to raise the human rights issue while working in the Qatar TV company. And as far as I'm aware, Gary Neville hardly raised those issues that he said he would. Then on the final, he realized, oh, I haven't done that much talking that I said I would about migrant workers' deaths. So let me try bring it up now. And let me try make a horrible comparison with the UK government and the unions. And that will make me sound smart, but it didn't, because Gary is completely wrong on this. It was the wrong time to raise this issue. Yes, the UK government isn't perfect with the nursing strikes and the rail worker strikes, but it's not the same thing as Qatar's migrant worker human rights issues. And Gary Neville just can't just criticize one thing without trying to bring up the UK government as a comparative, because he doesn't want to upset his bosses. Gary Neville, if he's so smart, he should understand that issues with strikes and unions and more pay is a complicated issue in a democracy where there's government and public money in the public sector that needs to be balanced out. And Gary Neville should know that, and he can't just compare that with Qatar's migrant worker issues and criticize the Conservative government acting like the Labour government are perfect. Now, Gary is what you describe as a champagne socialist. He acts like the Labour Party are all perfect and the Conservative Party are all evil, whereas Gary Neville himself loves the money he earns. He pays his own hotel workers, I'm sure, the lowest of wages. And this is just the mindset Gary Neville's got while accepting Qatar's corrupt money and to work on the TV sport. Gary Neville accepted the money, and now he thinks he has the moral high ground to criticize the British government's issue with unions and strikes. And I personally had to change the channel and couldn't watch ITV after hearing the arrogance of Gary Neville. It was a very crass political statement that was completely off key. It was inappropriate, wrong timing, and very hypocritical of Gary Neville to say that. And yeah, he continues to ruin his reputation as a respected football pundit. He is way too big for his boots. He thinks he's some sort of leader, some inspirational social leader, but he's not. He should just stick to being a football pundit, which he used to be good at, and I'm sure he is, but he's letting the arrogance get to him too much.